Collingwood.
Yes, yeah, obviously Collingwood this weekend. They're yeah, I'll talk. Yeah, Collingwood obviously undefeated at this stage, so they've had a great start to the season, and they've been a strong team, over the last couple of years. So it'll be a really good challenge for us to go over and hopefully put in a really strong performance.
Do you think it's going to be one of your toughest challenges of the year? Away from home, undefeated Collingwood, 90% chance of rain as well.
We've had some tough games already, yeah. So all of our games thus far have been pretty tight, and I'd envisage it'll be similar. So the good news is that we've been in those type of games for the first 3 weeks, so we've kind of prepared for what's to come. But yeah, absolutely, it'll be a good challenge.
Do you feel like coming off a few wins, you're going to carry that momentum into the game?
Every game pretty much starts from 0-0, so the last 2 weeks probably give us confidence that if we're in a tight tussle, we've got that capacity to finish strong. So that's a nice piece to have built into the first month, but I don't think it'll have a massive bearing on what happens on Sunday.
Ebony said earlier in the week that she feels like it's taken, with all the movement in the off-season and then players playing different positions, she said it feels like it's taken a little bit more time to click, but now it's starting to happen. How have you seen that from the coach's box?
Yeah, I've been really happy with our development as the season progresses, but I think we've got a long way to go. I don't think we're playing the footy that we want to play ultimately. That's the case every year, to be honest. I'm pretty comfortable with where they're at in terms of effort, intensity, outstanding really, and then our system and our method is getting a little bit better. But yeah, we certainly hope to improve that over the coming weeks.
Who has impressed you in either a new role or a new player?
Who's impressed? Well, Bedell was outstanding in round 2, pretty much helped us win that game. We would have been in a lot of strife without her. Ash Woodland last week didn't have any scoreboard impact in terms of goals, but I thought her ability to compete outnumbered on a number of occasions. And then, so often it's just individuals stepping up in a particular game. But what's been pleasing is that it probably hasn't been the same one in any given week. It's been, somebody finding a strong performance and the whole group playing their roles ultimately. So that usually is what ends up helping you win.
The fourth quarter against North Melbourne, is that your best footy all year, do you think?
Yeah, I think we've started each of the 3 games. I've felt the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game has been really strong. So we've jumped out okay. And then each of the games has sort of turned into a bit of an arm wrestle. But certainly Q4 in the Richmond game and quarter 4 last week have been the moments where we've sort of asserted control in the game. But I think there's been patches of pretty good footy right throughout, to be honest.
What will a win do for the group's confidence? I mean, knowing that they can, topple one of the competition's top sides at the moment. Yeah,
well, I think every season you're just trying to build the team and you're just trying to win enough games to make finals, to be honest. So in terms of what winning does, it does build belief, but more importantly, it gets you closer to the end game, which is to qualify for finals. So it's going to be a really tight season. Obviously every year we talk about the fact that it's a relatively short season, so we're at 10 games, and therefore every game is crucial. And this year with 18 teams, you don't play everyone, clearly. You only play half of the team, so you can't be 100% sure how that whole, how it's going to shake out in terms of who's going to get those wins. So we've just got to try to bank as many as we can, as quickly as we can, and hopefully get enough to qualify. And while we're doing that, try to build our footy and be in really good shape, hopefully come the end of the year.
How far away do you?
Does that make it harder to assess other teams as well? When not everyone's played each other, you got teams that maybe have got a couple of wins against a few.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because you can't do anything about it, so you get to forget about it and narrow your focus pretty much just to the team you're about to play in the coming week. So yeah, to be honest, what's going on in the rest of the competition is pretty irrelevant to us at the moment because, yeah, as you say, there's many of those teams that we won't play, and we can't do anything about that. So in some ways it's good because it just narrows your focus.
How far away do you reckon we are from having a league where you play each team once?
Yeah, well, we've got to find a spot in the calendar that everyone's happy with. So I know you guys are the journalists, you'd be able to tell me what it's rating in terms of this new time slot. So I thought the that starting in the bye week of the AFL gave it some pretty high exposure, which is great. But I actually haven't seen the numbers, so you know, the league and the broadcasters will probably come to a decision around where exactly it fits. But I think the players certainly are keen for more and more games as quickly as we can get there. Obviously, pushing towards 17 would be an excellent outcome, because you would have that parity across the whole league. But on the way there, it might not be 17, but if we can get more, then more is better.
Is it exciting for you to be presiding over a team in a league which is sort of having change and growth and everything? Like, what excites you each year? You never know what it's going to be like, I suppose, the way that they change it.
Look, I mean, what I do like, I mean, the beauty of AFLW over these last 4 seasons is the fact that, as you highlighted, it's really dynamic. You don't know what's about to happen. Be it new teams into the competition, the structure of the competition, players moving quite a bit because of that expansion, and that creates a really dynamic environment. And therefore, as a coach or anyone involved, that's challenging to try and solve those problems and put the puzzle back together again. So. Yeah, it's really fun. It's actually really fun to be involved, and yeah, I'm not too fussed about the change and all that, because it keeps it interesting. But in time, yeah, now that we've got to an 18-team competition, you would envisage that some of that dynamism, if that's a word, will settle, and we'll start to see teams be able to build over multiple years. But at the moment, it's very much every season is an independent event, and so you have to treat it as such.
What have you noticed about the standard of the players, given you've got a balance of having more teams and more players, but also a lot more girls have had more time in the system now? Yeah,
absolutely. And well, I think the skill level across the comp has improved every year. It'd be interesting to go back and watch vision from those first couple of years and reflect on what we're seeing at the moment. I think the standard of the comp just continues to improve, and expansion it's challenged that a little bit, because obviously. Some of those highly talented athletes are spreading out across other teams, but if I was even given that, I think it's still very much on an upward trajectory.
What do you do at selection this week, Doc? I know it's.
Yeah.
Have you settled on the team yet?
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. So there'll be a couple of changes. We've won the last 2 games, but we've got players that were unlucky to miss out and have been training really strongly. It's a challenging season this year because they're not getting to play games on the weekend, but there will be a couple of changes. Jazz Simmons will come in for her first game for the year, and there'll be a couple of others which you'll find out when the teams get announced. But I'll give you one. So that's great for her. She played the first 4 games last year. She's also elite athlete in another sport. She plays basketball. She's really strong. She played a WNBL season. NBL 1 season, and they most recently won the premiership. But throughout that, she's also trained really hard. She's worked really hard on her footy, so it'd be good to see her get an opportunity and see what she can do.
What role will she play?
Yeah, so she's played multiple roles for us in the past. She's played sort of wing, half back, and half forward. On the weekend, she'll probably play a combination of back and maybe a little bit of wing.
What have you noticed about these multi-sport athletes?
They're becoming less common. It's one thing I'm noticing, because the footy pathway has developed really quickly, and therefore in the first couple of seasons, probably the majority of the squad were alternate sport athletes of some description, whereas now the majority of the draftees are through the footy pathway. But there's no doubt, there's in both women's footy and men's footy, talented athletes are talented athletes, and they adapt pretty well to new sports. So there's a place for those in the system.
Those unselected players every week, how are they staying match fit?
They're training really hard.
Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a challenging period for anyone that's not getting a game, because it's essentially turning into the longest pre-season of your life. But in the coming weeks, we'll have an opportunity to set up some trial games, so that'll alleviate some of that. And we just got to work with them as hard as we can to make sure they're ready when their chance comes.